This week's Just You Award goes to Hara Allison. Hara Allison. Her podcast is Beneath Your Beautiful. You can hear her on episode 58, The Interrupted podcast. Hara is an amazing interviewer. She is all about bringing out the beautiful in the person she's interviewing. But what I love the most is I don't hear her say, you guys, and everybody. She talks as though she's talking to one person. It might be because she also has a magazine and she's a writer. She's also a photographer. Hara's mission in life is to help people feel seen and heard. Hara, you are doing an amazing job. Congratulations.
The power of the message, the power of what we do, the power of podcasting is beautiful. It's amazing. I love that we are in a world where we can stream and talk to and have conversations with millions of people.
Has your life, your dreams been interrupted? Good news. It is possible to reinvent our lives. People are doing it every day, and some are brave enough to share the struggles, disappointments, and challenges. If you are looking for a new beginning, a do-over, or to rediscover your passion, maybe even find a new one, then grab a cup of coffee and let's talk. Interrupted, Act 2, Reinventing Your Legacy, with your host, Coach Lori.
Trinity Baker is the co-host of the Unfiltered Path podcast. She is the author of the Gratitude Journal. She has a mindset training and she is a mindset coach. Trinity, welcome.
Lori, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. I am so blessed.
I was listening through to your podcast where you're the co-host and there's 4 of you. What I wanted to give you big kudos for, because as a podcast teacher and someone who works in radio, I don't mean to be like a snob, like in Seattle, we're coffee snobs, but you hit the road running. When you're introduced, I love that you just get right to it. That is so refreshing. It shows that you know your stuff. It shows that this is about the listener, not you, even though what you're bringing is a mindset shift, which if we could all get on board with that, our world would so change.
Yeah. Lori, thank you so much. Those kind words. I am brand new to podcasting as of October, and I had no idea that this is where I would be. I come from social anxiety. Anxiety so bad, I almost flunked grade after grade. I failed 3 public speaking courses in college. So I never knew this was going to be my path. However, I appreciate those kind words because I think what happened was exactly what you just said. When you find your passion, you realize the opportunities to spread the word and speak it loud. And so that's exactly what podcasting has done for me. The second I get on anywhere, anyone that will listen to me and offer me a space, I am game for, because the message about the power of mindset is life changing, and it has changed my life, clients' lives. It has the potential to change anyone's life. And the best thing is, Lori, is that it's free. Every single one of us has it. So I love how accessible it is. What I've noticed, especially with mindset, mindset is personal development. Personal development requires a lot of vulnerability. What I love about the podcast platform is that we create this sense of community where we, as hosts, co-hosts, and listeners, can all be part of the same community of vulnerability, talking about the things that regular society doesn't talk about on our day-to-day basis, and feel that humanity connection. The more we tap into that, the more we tap into each other, the more we tap into vulnerability, the more we become even more of our true selves. And that's where true happiness lies and joy lies in us living our fulfilling, full purposes and happy life. It begins. Podcasting really is here to create a sense of community.
I interviewed a lady, her webpage is The Negative Spaces, and it's for caregivers because caregivers are invisible. And she said one of the hardest things is people yell self-care when what we need is community care.
That's powerful. As a former nurse, I can't agree with that more. There is so much need for community care. That cliche saying, it takes a village. Ain't that the truth? And that's farther than we often hear people say it takes a village as far as raising kiddos. It takes a village as far as caring for a loved one or someone who is elderly, aging. But really, life itself takes a village. Can you imagine going through this thing we call life by ourselves? I don't even know what would happen. I think it does. It takes that community caring. We all have our ups and downs. I talk a lot about something we call crazy 8, where like our life is just this 8. The top part of the 8 is where we feel like so much passion and fulfillment and love and happiness and joy and presence. And then the bottom part of the 8 is where we label the crappy parts. I feel stuck and I feel lost. And so when we normalize that and come from a community care point, we start to feel not alone, and we start to normalize these things we stop beating ourselves up, because one of the worst things we can do is beat ourselves up and feel alone.
So you have this amazing journal, you have this program, you have a free program and then a 5-day program, which is amazing. But you just got into podcasting. And so just shed some light on why this, you kind of said how you never thought you'd be there. What is it that it's been really good for you for?
Oh, stepping out of my comfort zones. If I take us back to high school, middle school, elementary school, like all of my social anxiety that would have held me back from stepping into my true purpose here and fulfilling my calling, the number one thing that got me out of social anxiety is stepping out of my comfort zone, realizing that the social anxiety was something I was dealing with. It wasn't a label. I wasn't someone with it. I was someone challenged with this. And I knew that stepping out of my comfort zone, I needed to do that. So that's what I did early on in my nursing career. I did education with caregivers on resident rights and really just valuing people as people, not patients, not residents, not clients, not consumers. That required standing up in front of a room, talking to a lot of people. And so I remember other nurses and other social workers being like, how could you do that? I have such bad anxiety. And I'm like, me too. I totally hear you. I think the difference here, and looking back, the difference was the mindset, was that I feel like I can't do this, but I know I can. And I know that there is something way better for me and more impactful on the other side of this comfort zone. So stepping out of that proved to me that when you step out of your comfort zone, that's where growth is. When I was offered the opportunity of being a podcast host, I paused. It was that moment where I was like, I wanted to hold back. Could I really do this? Could I really be vulnerable in front of hundreds, thousands? I mean, I have no idea where this is going to go. It was that pause that caused me to say, it's a comfort zone. I took the leap of faith and I was like, okay, the 2 hosts that I'm doing this with are just such amazing, amazing friends who inspire me in all ways. So I want to say that it was out of comfort zone, but I was being comforted in the same time. If you look back at that, it's like when we step out of our comfort zone, that's really where we find our true potential and our true purposes. That opened a door. It was really funny. The universe, God, whatever you believe in. We did our first podcast on a Thursday. That very next day, I was contacted by a company in New York asking me to be a guest on one of their podcasts. And so I was like, okay, thank you for really like gifting me and showing me that I made the right choice by stepping out of my comfort zone here, which then led to more and more podcasts. And here I am with you, Lori. And so, I always had this message that I wanted to spread and yell from the rooftops and talk to everyone about. And I'm so grateful that I made that choice to step out of my comfort zone 12 years ago when I was a nurse, step out of my comfort zone 6 months ago, starting podcasting.
So it helped you personally and professionally.
Oh yeah, in all aspects. What podcasting has also done is helped me in my confidence. You had mentioned at the beginning of this, you go right into the content. You go right into what you believe. And I can tell that you really believe in what you speak about. And you're right. Because I think what it's offered me is the platform to really be confident about what I believe in and spread my messages in different ways, learning how to really interact with an audience we can't see. We know that people are here listening to us, and that is so empowering and inspiring to know that these messages are getting to the people who need them. Because I believe in Ripple too. I believe strongly in Ripple. Listeners may pass along what they're learning to someone else who needs it. And I know that the universe always makes those ripples happen where they need to happen. I know that our ripple today and the ripple that you cause with this podcast and all the work that you do, Lori, I know that it causes ripple after ripple after ripple that we will never know about, but we're so blessed to be able to create.
And when we come from that place of who's going to listen or who's going to care, that is something that stops so many people. And it doesn't matter. I'm in a room. I'm talking to one person. I'm sharing something that I care about. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but I do it because I'm here to help my community. I'm here to help
that person that's just a few steps behind me
get where they need to go.
Bottom line is that we do it because we have a passion to serve. Podcasting just gives us that outlet in order to serve, right? We serve in so many different ways, but in order to speak our broad message, our message that we want to get up on the roof and yell, podcasting is where it's at. I can't imagine anyone ever being comfortable starting a podcast, but because there's always that, your little mind talking about mindset, it comes from fear. That inner chatter comes from fear. So regardless of whether you are a public speaking professional, if you are a radio host already, I'm sure there was some part of you that was I really want to do this.
Do I want to be vulnerable?
Oh, vulnerability. Anyone with a message that is worth sharing is going to feel the hesitation of being vulnerable, right? Because that's just our human nature. We come from fight or flight. We come from the surviving, finding food, keeping ourselves safe 24/7 years and years ago, hundreds of years ago. What we have to realize is that, and I think this is what really clicked for me, was nothing bad is going to happen from this. Nothing bad's going to happen from this. If anything, if I can communicate and connect with one person, even if that doesn't happen, I build my skills. I build my speaking skills. I build my confidence. I build the power of the message, the power of what we do. The power of podcasting is beautiful. It's amazing. I love that we are in a world where we can stream and talk to and have conversations with millions of people. Love that.
Because you're a mindset coach. One of the things in my classes that I find is people get really excited because we're doing the class every week. They get motivated, but then the class ends and they go through this huge fear and then it gets dropped like a hot potato.
I think it's a couple of things. The number one thing that is being brought to me right now when we talk about holding ourselves back in sort of that self-sabotage way, right? You've already done the work. You're passionate about your message. You've got the skills, you've learned them, is identity. When we have a shift in identity, and you can relate this to anything. You can relate this to becoming a podcaster. You can relate this to a new career path. You can relate this to the mom who's empty nesting. It's a shift in identity. When we have a shift in identity in any way, whether it's welcomed or it's not welcomed, there's a fight or flight. There is a freeze. And immediately the part of you who is fighting and flighting is coming from fear. It is that identity that wants to hold you back in your comfort zone. All I can say is to love that part of you. I didn't say listen. I said love. There is a huge difference. Honor, acknowledge, and give grace to that part of you. Acknowledge it. I know you want me to hold back. I know you want me to be quiet. I know that this is outside the comfort zone, and I know that you're coming from fear right now. I'm going to honor that and respect you, but I'm also going to step into the new identity. I'm also going to step into the person who knows I have a message to share. I'm also going to step into the person who is willing to be vulnerable. I'm going to step into the person where I know I'm being called to. And so it's a choice to step into. I use a lot of analogies. It's really helpful for our brain to connect to them. So one analogy I use with my clients is player 1 and player 2. My son's 9. He loves playing video games. When you start a video game, you have a choice between player 1 and player 2. You're always going to default to player 1. Player 1's always going to be there. You're always going to default to that player 1 who's going to hold you back, who's going to come from fear, who's going to come from your past experiences, your traumas, your old belief systems, but you can choose to step into player 2. If you are feeling the hesitation, I offer you to ask yourself, what player are you going to choose to play today? And that can come with every single choice in our life, not just starting your podcast. although it's going to serve you greatly if you ask yourself that when you're ready to hit that play button or submit button or publish button. It's a constant battle of choosing which one you're going to show up as. And as you choose, player 2 then gets more dominant. We all have life traumas and pasts and history. And so there'll be things that want to bring you back to that player 1. Fear will always kick in. But the more you choose player 2, the more dominant player 2 gets. That first publication of the episode is going to be, that player 1 is going to pull you hard. The second one gets a little easier, and the third one, and the fourth one. And so eventually by the 10th one that they've already created, player 2 is a little more dominant, and it's beautiful. And that's your true self. Player 2 is your true self.
I love that. And it becomes such a habit. And what I love about that mindset is if we never push past it, if we never take a minute and acknowledge this is fear, that whatever we think it is, then we miss the beauty of where we can be taken when we're willing to say yes.
Oh man. Player 2 in me could have stayed a nurse. Player 2 could have stayed a nurse working 14-hour shifts. And I look at that all of the time. I reflect on that all of the time. When it is hard for me to choose player 2, I reflect on the previous times I've chosen player 2. And how it got me to where I am today. That's motivation. It's all about focus. What are we focusing on? Whatever you're focusing on, you're going to get more of. So if you're focusing on the fear, if you're focusing on the anxieties, if you're focusing on the worries and the what ifs, you're going to get more of those. And so once you mentally, this is why I love analogies, because mentally you can just kind of make that switch when you think player 1, player 2. Literally picturing 2 different remote controls. Which one are you choosing? And as soon as you make that choice, everything aligns, and then you prove to yourself, that's where the confidence gets built up. You prove to yourself, I can do this. I really can. And then it gets a little easier every time.
You posted something on Facebook.
Oh, my heart, Lori. Oh, this is one of those player 2 moments. For sure. Oh my gosh. Thank you for bringing this up. It is a great opportunity. So I'm going to be starting a TV talk show. And it's going to be streamed on a couple of TV stations, mainly the podcast world, YouTube, all the major platforms. And it's going to be a raw, unscripted Q&A with callers and listeners, viewers. It's called Your Mindset Mentor. It's just my way to bring that impact into the world, to show people, bring me your question. I want to show you the power of your mindset, because what I find, and when I started my business, I know personally how powerful our mindsets are. But in order to take someone who knows absolutely nothing or minimal about mindset and prove to them that it's life-changing, it's a feat. And that's why I really started my entire business on a free 5-day training. And that training has just been revamped, reorganized, and just offered to everyone and anyone who wants to experience a mindset transformation of their own. And I see this opportunity to be your mindset mentor as another way for me to give back to the community and create that community cares, where you can call in and listen. One, you can get that sense of community. The callers have questions that are relatable to you. Get that sense of community that, wow, I'm not alone. I think humanity is so important. We got to continue to tap into that because we're not alone. When you sense that, it's a beautiful feeling. And then you can also call in and ask your questions and get advice and get guidance on how you can completely shift your mindset in situations. And then you can experience the mindset transformation of your own and believe that everything we need in order to change our lives to what we desire and what we want to do and fulfill and live and love and joy is all within our mindset. I really am excited for the opportunity just to spread the love. I'm excited. We'll have a way for individuals to submit their questions ahead of time. They can call in live. It'll be a live talk show. So that's something I'm really excited about. I haven't yet hit that platform, the live platform, with podcasting. So everything I've done in podcasting has been pre-recorded. So I'm a little excited for that. Yeah, it's total comfort zone. Player 2 had to show up hardcore when that opportunity came.
Something that you said that I really want to focus on is when I first started in radio, it was very scary to open the mic. But because I had been doing it when I did podcasting, it wasn't scary. So I have to kind of come from this place of remembering what it was like. My belief is when I hear you say how this has opened doors, how this has paved the way for you, I work with mostly women in their 50s and 60s who feel like they're done. And I'm like, what do you mean you have all this wisdom? Push record. And here's the thing, Trinity, you get 52 episodes in a year. You transcribe all those on Google Transcribe for free. Voila, you've got a book.
I love that. That's impactful. Lori, what you bring, I think, to this platform and the voice that you give women is just unreal. I mean, what you teach them is really harnessing everything that they've learned. You know, I work with a lot of women, despite being the young age, I work with a lot of women in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And you're right. At that point in life, they come to me and they're saying, I feel like it's over. Like, I don't even know what to do now. My kiddos are not in it. Like, I don't even know what to do. I'm retiring. What do I do? And I think the most beautiful thing is how when they harness the power of their mindset, step into who they are truly meant to be, like focusing inwards, self-care, self-love, routine, like just really understanding their hobbies and their passions, what happens is that they end up finding somewhere that they're incredibly passionate about. And then they need people like you to show them how to get the message out about what they're passionate about. So I love that is the major demographic that you work with, because I think what you're doing is you're giving people their voice back. I had done an interview with a menopause specialist. So one of the things that she had mentioned was in that age frame, a lot of women feel unseen. They feel unheard. They know they have this wisdom. They know the life they've been through, but they don't even know that they can get it out. So I love that you are passionate about that demographic and really helping them and showing them it really is easy to just speak your love. When you're coming from the heart, that is what's there and you can get that out. So I love that, Lori.
When I was a single mom really struggling, I got some help from the Family Resource Center, and they really liked me. They saw my potential. I felt like a project. I felt like a loser. One lady said, "Hey, I heard you sew." And I'm like, "Doesn't everybody?" And she goes, "Well, no, not really. And I have some pants that need to be hemmed. Can I pay you?" And I started laughing hysterically. She goes, "Why are you laughing?" And I go, "Anybody can hem pants." She goes, No, Lori, anybody can't. And if you would take this seriously, we would pay you and we'd probably have all of our colleagues having you hem pants and it could be a little extra income. And I remember being so blown away with something that I took so for granted of what I did. When I created the Leaving a Legacy program, I worked with Coach Eileen Wilder, and she said, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I work in radio. I've written a book. I do some podcasts." She goes, "Do you teach it?" And I go, no. She goes, "But you've done it. You know how to do it." It just didn't occur to me. And when I was trying as a single mom to get a career, to get something happening, they said, quote, they said, "Write a book." I wrote a book. Get on the radio. I got on the radio. Like, I did all the things. It didn't occur to me, oh, then I can turn around and teach that.
Something that you took for granted, like something like sewing. I mean, everyone that comes on the Unfiltered Path podcast is an entrepreneur. They're all a business owner of some sort, and they're high in their career of doing something with passion, with fulfillment. It is something that they are loud and proud about. And so what I've noticed in interviewing these individuals as guests is that they've taken something that they've struggled with. They've taken something that once they may have looked at as a challenge that could hold them back, and they've flipped it around to something that they are passionate about being vulnerable about and teaching others and supporting others in. That just kind of like sparked my connection to take for granted our challenges. We take for granted our objections and where life puts us when it doesn't feel comfortable, when all of these things are here to build you as a person and your experiences. So then you can just be even more passionate about what you can do. And I think that when we start to look at challenges like that, we start to dread them a little less. We can see where we're really getting that experience in talking about it, being vulnerable about it. Yeah, I think it's so important. You know, the universe, whatever your higher power is, I think we're all called to the platform, or we're meant to be called to, and we're given the messages that we are meant to share and the passion that we're meant to step into. And I think that what you offer, Lori, with all of your coaching and your programs is the opportunity for the people who have been given this message and this calling to make it even more impactful. And think about, like, I love how you mentioned at the beginning of this podcast episode, the power of mindset. And if we all just understood the power of mindset, I want to take that to the next level. And if you have had a calling and a passion, and you feel the urge to start a platform, podcasting, whatever that might be, what I love that you do, Lori, is that you give them the education that they need and the support they need to make it as impactful as they can. Because as you said with the mindset, if everyone knew, the world would be different. If everyone that podcasts, if you knew how to make it the best it can possibly be and connect, I mean, imagine the impact. Podcasting, YouTubing, whatever platform it is so impactful. That impact can be 1,000 times more with the right education and support.
One of the first things you said is many of your clients don't feel like they have a voice. And I feel like, look at us with our microphones. We have a voice. And now we're in a day and age where we have an opportunity to use it. If we choose not to, it's not because we can't. It's because we've made a choice to stay in our comfort zone. I do not want to be player one. I want to be player two.
No, player two is so much fun. Player two is scary sometimes. Player two pulls parts of you out that you push down because it's vulnerable. Player two gets you thinking deeply, which can be a little scary when we have traumas and old beliefs. But player two, oh my gosh, I urge you to step into player two. Every choice you get, because player two is so much fun. It is the reason that we're all here. Player two is who we need to show up here for in life. It is our purpose in life to show up as player two.
Trinity, what is it you really want us to know?
The one message, if I had to pick just one, and man, this is so hard to pick, but the one message that I am so extremely passionate about is that every single one of us here on earth needs to be living a life where we feel fulfilled and happy and joyous and peace and balance and loved and supported and authentic and all of those things. And if you are living a life that is less than any of those things, there are supports here to help you discover all of the things you desire. In nothing less than that. So that is my one message that I'm so passionate about. Again, it all starts with mindset, but everyone has it. You have it. I have it. A listener has it. The person walking by my house has it. We all have it. My son has it right from the beginning. When we are born, we are all born with mindset. You can harness the power of that to create the life that you love and nothing less.
Many women who are retiring have a mindset they don't even know they have. And here's an opportunity to change that. So how can we find you? How can we work with you?
Oh, thank you, Lori. You can find me. Easiest way is my website, which is TheTrinityBaker.com. I am on all social media platforms as the same name. So the Trinity Baker. I make mindset transformation very, very accessible for you. It is a free 5-day mindset transformation training where you can get my one-on-one support for 5 full days. And so it's really simple. Right on my website, TheTrinityBaker.com, there's a tab that says mindset training. I am so passionate about spreading the positivity on these social media platforms and being that bright light. I love when I get the messages like, that video really struck me and I really needed to hear that. That's why I do them. We all need a little bit of light, bright love, support. Go and follow me on social media, The Trinity Baker, and visit my website for more information on how I can support you.
Thank you.
Lori, such a blessing. I am so grateful for this opportunity to be here, make my mission known in the platform for you to be able to offer this for me. So thank you.
If you love this podcast, here's a big ask. Will you share with your friends and family, subscribe, give us a review, and a 5-star rating so that others looking to reinvent their lives will be able to get the help they're looking for? Thank you in advance.